I'd like to call the August meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee of the Montgomery County Legislature to order here at 6 p.m. this evening, and I'd like to welcome everyone here this afternoon, including my fellow legislators, Chairman Diamond, and everyone in the gallery. I'd like to open up the meeting by offering any time period here for discussion points that anybody would like to bring up. Okay, thank you. Upon hearing none, we'll move quickly into our presentation this evening. This evening we have Mr. Terry Ryan with us from Integrated Business Solutions, which is the marketing division, more or less, of Genuine Auto Parts, the parent company for Napa. And Mr. Ryan is here to provide us detail regarding this potential resolution that we looked at last week or last month and tabled, to give us some more in-depth background on it, especially for some of us legislators who were new and voted in as of January and weren't here for his last presentation in November. And Mr. Ryan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me back. It was in November that I was here last time, so November 15th, according to my record. So I'm sure there's probably more than just one of you that haven't heard this before. I'm not really going to go into too much detail out of respect for your time, but what I will do is just give you a real quick broad overview. And then as my understanding is that there were a number of questions that have come up either prior to or at the last meeting or since the last meeting. So I thought maybe the best use of your time would be to answer any specific questions that you guys might have. What I delivered to each of you, the first piece is the exact same piece that we went over in November. The first page of this is an overview of the program itself. The second page of it was the actual specific savings to the county. And I can touch on any of these points if you have specific questions about it. The second piece, and as my understanding is that this is one of the questions that we have. The second piece, and just so you understand, we're still in the process of negotiating a contract with Megan. And what I delivered to you, the second piece, is actually the first 2 pages of the last draft that Megan sent me just a couple days ago. And I do this for a specific reason, which we can touch on as well. And then the last thing that I delivered to you is just a small introductory piece into a particular cooperative buying group that we use a lot and the county is looking at using as well to put this contract in place. And I understand that there were some questions about this buying cooperative in particular, so this is just an introductory piece, but I'm also ready, willing, and able to discuss that with you as well. So just as a matter of introduction, I work, as was just explained, I work for Genuine Parts Company. Genuine Parts Company is the parent company of Napa Auto Parts. Genuine Parts Company has 4 basic business divisions, 3 of which are relevant to what we're going to talk about tonight. The 4th one has no relevance at all. We have an automotive parts division, which is made up of Napa Auto Parts. It's also made up of a company called Traction Warehouse. Traction is like Fleet Pride. They're Canada's largest heavy-duty truck parts distributor, although we corporately moved them from Montreal down to Atlanta, where we're corporately headquartered about 9 years ago. So within our automotive parts division, we have Napa Auto Parts. Within the Napa family, there are 6,000 Napa stores. We own 1,000 of them corporately. 5,000 of them are owned by independent business people like Mr. Frank Greco behind me here. Typically, wherever we have a distribution center, such as in Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, we own the Napa stores right in that immediate vicinity. So if you go back to Albany in the Capital District, There are 10 Napa stores that we own right in Albany proper. When you get outside of Albany, be it to Amsterdam or West Sand Lake or Saratoga, wherever it might be, they're all independently owned and operated, okay? Within the automotive parts group, there are 60 Napa distribution centers around the country. 8 in the Northeast that I work with. I manage this program throughout the Northeast. But 60 of them around the country. So there's Napa Auto Parts, there's Traction Heavy Duty Truck Parts, which is another piece of our automotive parts division. And there is a company called Altrum. Altrum is a direct fit foreign car parts distributor. So they go to the same people that make parts for Toyota and BMW and Mercedes and Nissan and Volkswagen and Kia and whoever it might be, because none of them make their own parts. We buy from the same manufacturers they do. We put it into the same OE box that the Kia dealership gives it to you in, or the Toyota dealership gives it to you in, and we distribute those OE foreign car parts both through our Napa system and through my program as well, Integrated Business Solutions. So those 3 pieces make up our automotive parts group. Napa Auto Parts, Traction Heavy Duty Truck Parts, Altrum Foreign Car Parts. We also have an industrial division called Motion Industries, which should factor pretty significantly into what the county is looking to do with us. Motion Industries is just like Grainger, only 2.5 times bigger. So the Grainger catalog, which a lot of people are familiar with, if Motion had one catalog for all the product that we offer, it'd be about that big. So we have an industrial component to this as well, where we can provide you with safety items, personal protection equipment, construction equipment and supplies, traffic control devices, janitorial supplies, whatever it might be, okay? And then we also own a third piece, or another division. We have an office products division. We own the 2nd largest office supply company in the country called SP Richards. You've never heard of them because they're not open to the retail public, but they are the exclusive suppliers to Office Max, Office Depot, and Staples nationwide, okay? We do have some of our fleets that are on this program that we sell office products to as well. So those are the 3 main divisions. The other division that I haven't mentioned is my division. So we have a program called Integrated Business Solutions, or IBS for short. It's a vendor-managed inventory program. And a piece of that program, we can also do global sourcing for the fleet that we're managing the inventory for. So the basic premise of the program is we manage your inventory. We own it, we run it with our people, we run it to your hours of operation, and we manage that inventory for you. But as a piece of that, we also procure inventory for you as well, okay? And that's really the division or the focus of tonight's explanation, is Integrated Business Solutions. So we have 400 of these sites around the country, public and private. We have about 175 to 180 public sector fleets, and the balance of them are private sector fleets. Public sector, just in the Northeast, we do all of New York City. NYPD, FDNY, the Sanitation Department, the Corrections Department, DOT, and Parks and Recreation. We do the entire state of Maine DOT. We do the city of Boston. We do the town of Greenwich, Connecticut. We currently do Otsego County, Nassau County, St. Lawrence County, and I am in the very same process, the very same point that I am here with Montgomery County, with Chemung County, down in Elmira or Horses. We're looking to install the same program there within the next couple of months. Private sector, I was mentioning earlier, we do Gorman Brothers, or the Gorman Group, road construction up in Florida or Amsterdam. We've been in there for about 8 years. We manage or supply parts to 3 of their sites through their main facility in Amsterdam. We also do the 2nd largest construction company in the state of New Jersey called J. Fletcher Creamery. I also do 2 large aggregate companies up in Maine as well, which is basically construction, asphalt, and concrete type companies. So this type of program works in any type of fleet, public or private. The interesting part about this, and I always make this distinction, I don't work for Napa Auto Parts. I work for Genuine Parts Company. I've worked for Genuine Parts Company for 40 years this past June. So if you cut me, I'm going to bleed blue, okay? But, and in Frank's world, in our retail Napa world, 96, 97, 98% of what a Napa store purchases and resells is Napa product because they're a Napa store. In my world, in the IBS world, or the vendor managed inventory world, last year, we had 400 of these sites around the country, public and private. We did about $470 million in business with those sites. And less than 20% of it was Napa product. Why? Because number one, I don't work for Napa. I work for Genuine Parts Company. Number two, frankly, Genuine Parts Company in this program does not care what the color of the box is. In a retail Napa world, sure, they want everybody to carry blue, gold, and white boxes. In my world, they don't care the color of the box. And here's why. Because as has been explained to you guys before, and you will see in the final contract, in this program, in our business model, we're going to be guaranteed, contractually guaranteed to make a 10% net profit. 10% net profit, not gross profit, net profit. Not only are we going to report that to you every month, we're going to show you a copy of a P&L every month that has that on it. So as Genuine Parts Company, I'm going to make a 10% net profit, whether that box is blue, gold, and white, or red, black, and white, such as Baldwin filters. I mentioned a minute ago that we do J. Fletcher Creamer Construction Company, second largest construction company in New Jersey. All my filters are Baldwin filters. That may not mean anything to most of you guys, but Baldwin is a direct competitor to Napa filters. All my batteries are Interstate batteries, a direct competitor to Napa batteries. In that particular facility, they told me by contract that I needed to buy certain product lines from a regional auto parts supplier called Superior Automotive, located about 20 miles away from Hackensack, where our main facility is. So that's what I do. I buy my filters, I buy my batteries, I buy my wipers, I buy my nuts and bolts, I buy all my bulk fluids, everything which could be supplied from Napa through Superior Automotive, which is a direct competitor of Napa. Right up the road in Amsterdam, in Gorman Brothers, we do $65,000, $75,000 a month in purchases and resale to Gorman Brothers. In 2016, because we track this on a monthly basis, 8% of the product that I delivered to Gorman Brothers was Napa product. You can walk in the Gorman Brothers parts room right now in Amsterdam and see competitive product to Napa all day long. So this is not a program, as I know Dave and Paul originally heard, and you guys probably heard in November, this is not a program to sell you more Napa parts. I could care less the color of the box. Why? Because I'm going to make 10% net profit on it regardless of the color of the box. To be frank, this is a program to buy whatever inventory the Montgomery County DPW fleet needs. Have it in stock in your facility, run by our people, run to your hours of operations, so that we can deliver to you on demand a minimum, contractually guaranteed minimum, 80% of what you need right then. So 8 times out of 10, when Eric's folks need a part, whatever that part is, we're contractually guaranteed to provide you that product, a minimum of 8 times out of 10. I can tell you in Gorman Brothers, they've got 1,400 vehicles. I'm sorry, I'm getting my facts mixed up, that's New Jersey. Gorman Brothers has about 340 vehicles. And of those 340 vehicles, last year we delivered the parts at about a 93% on demand rate. We not only can tell you that, but we're going to report that to you on a monthly basis. So you're going to see what that on demand rate is. So again, Gorman Brothers, $70,000, $75,000 a month that we buy, 8% of it is Napa product. Okay. Again, our job is to stock the inventory, provide the inventory to the fleet when they need it, whatever those hours of operation are. Okay. One of our other jobs is to provide you acquisition cost savings. Early on in the process with Dave and Paul, they gave us, I don't remember, a couple hundred part numbers, I think. They asked us to compare prices. Here's what the county paid for it now. What would we pay for it on the IBS program? We did that, and we compared pricing on all of that, and we provided that to Dave and Paul. The results of that are on that second page of that overview that I just gave you, okay? Our job is to save you money. I'll give you another quick example. In Napa, in the Napa world, we sell nuts and bolts all day long. Motion Industries, my industrial company, they sell nuts and bolts all day long. Of the 67 facilities that I have in the Northeast, half of them, we buy nuts and bolts from a company called Imperial Fasteners. Don't know if you ever heard of Imperial Fasteners. They're owned by Granger. So I'm buying nuts and bolts for my IBS facilities from a direct competitor to Motion Industries, my industrial supplier. Why do I do that? They're 92% American made. They have a barcode and a cabinet system that is second to none to organize all those nuts and bolts. And third, my savings is anywhere from 18 to 40% over what that fleet buys those nuts and bolts for now. I can buy nuts and bolts 18% below what the Napa Distribution Center in Albany can sell me nuts and bolts for. So my job is to bring the fleet, in this case Montgomery County DPW, options. Okay? If you tell me to buy batteries from this guy, if you tell me to buy Ford parts from this Ford dealer, whatever it might be, and we'll talk about that in a second, how contractually you can do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy Ford parts or batteries where you told me to, because by contract I have to. My job is to bring you options. So at some point, I'm going to come back to Eric and I'm going to say, Eric, you told me to buy Ford parts from this guy. You told me to buy batteries from that guy, and I am. I've got the same battery from 3 other distributors, 3, 5, 2, 8% less, whatever. I got the same Ford parts from 4 other distributors, 2, 3, 6% less. What do you want to do? And Eric and the county, by contract, has the ability to tell me, nope, I want you to buy Ford parts from this guy because we buy our vehicles from him, and I get a great price on vehicles. Or, I want you to buy batteries from this guy because he's been a loyal vendor to the county for 20 years, or whatever it might be. So by contract, I have to buy from any vendor. The county has the ability to either direct me to buy from that vendor, or to go out on their own and buy from that vendor in this program. Okay? So your hands are never tied. You never have to use one particular vendor. I will buy from any vendor you tell me to buy from. In the Napa world, in Frank's world, we have about 60, 65 vendors that we historically have dealt with for years. In my world, in the world of integrated business solutions, we have over 1,400 vendors that I deal with. Okay, so I may come back to you with the same vendor that's supplying me bulk fluids in New York City and say, I can sell you your oils and your greases and your DEF fluid and whatever, 8% cheaper, 12% cheaper, whatever. You can buy it at the same price New York City buys it at, 1 gallon at a time. But if you tell me, nope, we're using this guy for whatever reason, then that's what I'm going to do. Okay? So again, the program is to manage your inventory, to have on the shelf the inventory that you need when you need it, a minimum of 80% of the time, and to provide you as much as we can in the way of acquisition cost savings. When we do all of this, we're also going to we're going to increase the efficiency at the county level, because all the paperwork that people are dealing with within the county, let's just say you're buying from 40 vendors on the average month. Think of all the package slips, the invoices, the credit memos, the statements, the checks that are being cut. Think of all the reconciliation that goes on with those 40 vendors every single month. Most of that goes away. I'll buy from those 40 vendors. I'll buy from as many of those vendors as you want me to. But we're going to do all the reconciliation. We're going to handle all the paperwork. So we're going to increase your, I'll call it office efficiency. We're also going to increase the shop efficiency for Eric, because guaranteed, contractually guaranteed, I've got to provide you 80% of what you need on demand. So he's going to get vehicles out of the shop, back out into the field a lot quicker. One of the reports we're going to provide him on a daily basis is something we call vehicle down waiting on part report. He will know on an hourly basis what vehicle is down, if it's waiting on a part, what the part is, where the part is, and when the part will be here, so that he can plan his work accordingly. So this is really about productivity and efficiency, both at the shop level and the office level, as well as just manage your inventory, okay? 3 o'clock in the morning, the call comes in, we've got a snow emergency, parts room's got to be open. We have plans in place, and they will be in the contract, to have that parts room open and accessible to Eric and his crews. Okay, every other Saturday in the summertime or whatever, they come in to do catch-up work, parts room could be open. So they're never without that inventory. As I guess I'm assuming you might know this, but you may not know this. Every dime of inventory eventually will be owned by us, will be owned by Frank. In this case, supported by us. So as your existing inventory is given back to you as you need it, one box at a time, at no charge because it's already yours, we're going to replace it with inventory that the IBS program will own. So over a period of months, the county will be out of the inventory business. And we, or in this case Frank, will own all of the inventory. So all of your obsolescence problems go away. You have a series of trucks that Eric decides he's going to get rid of. What do you do with the inventory on the shelf? Typically nothing, it sits on the shelf. Okay? We'll manage that inventory just like we manage the inventory in all of our stores. You tell me a series of trucks are going away, we're going to purge that inventory off the shelf. You tell me you're bringing in a certain series of trucks, we're going to load up with the inventory that we need to supply that certain series of trucks. So your obsolescence program goes away. Your cores, if everybody knows what a core is, cores go away because we own the inventory. Your guy brings that starter core back and puts it on the counter, you get your core credit instantaneously, not at the end of the hour, not at the end of the day, instantaneously. Frank's guy takes that core, throws it over in the corner to handle later, breaks the nose cone off the starter core, making it worthless. That's our loss, that's not your loss. Frank's guy gives you a case or a can of WD-40 and forgets to bill you. That's our loss, that's not your loss. So all the liability that comes with owning your inventory goes away. Frank will eventually own the inventory, he'll take the liability, but you know what? That's what he does every day in his Napa store. That's what we do every day in the 1,000 Napa stores that we own and the 400 IBS sites that we have around the country. We take over the liability because we own the inventory. Paperwork goes away, shop productivity and efficiency increases. In a real quick nutshell, and that's a real quick nutshell, that's what the program is all about. Certainly as Dave knows, because he's been doing this with me since the beginning, I could go on and on about this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stop and just open the floor, if that's okay, for any type of questions that might be out there about the program, about the contract, about the buying cooperative that the county is looking to use. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can. Yes, sir.
Mr. Ryan, how do you manage a 10% net margin if most of our product selection is from another vendor where you know you could be saving money someplace else?
By contract. Anything, I keep on using the term and I apologize because it's really frank, but anything that we buy in this program and put on the shelf for the county, we're going to mark it up 10% over our cost, whatever that cost is. So if you told me to buy from that Ford guy, right? I'm going to buy from that, even though I could go over here and buy from this Ford guy 5% cheaper, you told me to buy from this guy, so I am. So that part costs me $15. I'm going to mark that part up 10% over that $15. If because of that you say, well, you know what, let's look at buying from this Ford guy, and I can buy that same Ford part for $13, I'm going to mark it up 10% over my cost, which in this case would be $13. So I'm always going to mark it up 10% above what we call our lowest landed cost. Okay? So again, you can tell me to buy from whoever you want to, and we will. But I am going to come back to Eric with options, believe me. And I'm going to give them the options. You guys will make the decision.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Legislator Patel.
I have several questions.
Yes, sir.
One was already answered in looking over your agreement, where it says the customer reserves the right to purchase any item outside the agreement, where to determine that the customer in its reasonable discretion be more economic. So we can buy directly from CAT, we can buy from Case, we can buy from International if we feel that we would save on that.
Or you could direct me to buy from any vendor you wanted me to buy from. And we can be more specific in that language if we need to be. That's just where Megan and I are right now with
I
it.
think the question would become if we had to buy a bucket for a excavator and it's $4,500, should we just buy it directly as opposed to going through you and adding $450 onto it? We reserve that option.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, when we talk about 10% markup, what is included in costs? So are you saying in the 10% that you charge over, you're picking up all the overhead that's associated with that?
No, that would be gross profit. Our 10% guarantee is net profit. Net profit meaning that's what we're taking to the bank every month. Okay? So the gross profit is what you use to pay the overhead. So what we're going to do in this business model, we have different business models, but in the one that we've been talking with Dave and Paul and Eric about, what we're going to do is whatever the monthly operating expenses are to be in your facility, and there'll be a lot less than, say, in Frank's store, because we're in your facility. We're not really paying much in the way of rent, although I will tell you in this case, the county is going to charge us a little bit of rent, but it's minimal. But we don't have much in the way of rent. We're not paying utilities because we're in your building. We're not open 6.5, 7 days a week like Frank may be open. We don't have 3 or 4 delivery vehicles and 7 or 8 employees like Frank might have. We're going to have 1 employee, so our overhead is less. So what we do at the end of every month, we bill you separately for the operating expenses for that month. And I've detailed those to all of these guys as we went through the cost benefit analysis. What we delivered to them, and I can certainly deliver to you guys, is a projected cost benefit analysis. What it was going to cost Frank to have his person in there every day, insurance, benefits, computer expense for the month, freight expense for the month, store expense, whatever it might be. And we can pretty accurately project those because we operate 400 of these around the country. So at the end of every month, the county is going to get 1 statement with 2 entries on it. The first entry is going to say, here's the parts that we sold you last month at a 10% markup or margin. Here's the operating expense last month. Okay, and the projected operating statement that I just referred to actually becomes part of the contract. That's one of the attachments.
So we're paying the park. We're adding onto the park some variable overhead, which would include salary of the employee that's in the storehouse, the health insurance, the federal, state. We're not going to pick up any vehicle costs. So basically what we're looking at is picking up the cost of an employee that works in the storehouse and is providing the parts over the counter.
Right.
And that's separate, there's no other costs associated with it.
No.
So what other costs might we see in there besides from the employee?
Again, his benefits.
Right.
Okay, taxes, freight expense, so maybe several times during the month, Eric and his guy said, you know what, I need for you to overnight this particular part, it's an emergency, we gotta have it. I can't wait for the morning for you to get it, we need to overnight it. We will never overnight a part without getting permission from the county first. So you may have some freight expense 1 month, the next month you may have no freight expense, right? You're gonna have some computer expense because we're gonna put the same inventory management system or computer system in this site that we have in 6,000 stores around the country. That enables us to manage our inventory, to order our inventory, to check prices, to compare prices all over the country, to do what you would normally do with that type of inventory management system. So there'll be monthly computer expense. All this is detailed in the P&L that I've already delivered to Megan and the folks at the DPW. Okay.
I got a couple more.
Let me just make one other point about the operating expense too. The operating expenses are never marked up. The only thing that's marked up is the parts. The operating expense is what it is. If it's $300 in freight for the month, it's $300 in freight.
So we also talked about Motion Industries, SB Richards, Integrated Business Solutions, and some others. And I thought this was originally auto parts, truck parts, equipment parts, but you talked about paper, copiers, toilet paper, cleaning supplies and stuff. I didn't realize that that was part of
It
it.
doesn't have to be. That's, again, go back to that one clause in the contract that you read. You don't have to do that. If you want to do that, if our industrial company, Motion Industries, can sell you marking paint cheaper than you're buying it now, and you want us to provide that, we can do that. If you don't, you can limit it strictly to fleet parts,
So
mechanical
you have a
parts.
digital catalog or something that would, the other thing that I was curious about, I'm trying to curious about your relationship with Mr. Rico and how this all fits. We have the three-party relationship basically with the county. And I'm not sure, you know, I'm dealing with you, I'm dealing with Mr. Rico.
Sure.
Who are we dealing with? Are we dealing with both?
Good.
What's the relationship?
Good question. So I actually, how many years ago was it? I put Frank in business. He opened an Apple store 28 years ago. Okay, I was what we call a sales manager out of our Albany distribution center, working with all of our independent owners, and part of my responsibility is opening new Napa stores. So Frank is a Napa store owner, independent Napa store owner. There are 5,000 of them in the country. He buys 96, 98% of his parts through the Napa warehouse or distribution center in Latham. Okay, if he wants to go out and buy a windshield wiper fluid somewhere, or a particular type of oil somewhere, or battery somewhere else, he can do that. But typically our Napa stores buy 96, 98% Napa product. So I put him in business. He's an independent owner. Okay. I work for Genuine Parts Company, the parent company of Napa Auto Parts. Okay. Typically, I don't have anything to do with the Napa side of the business, the retail side of the business. Okay. I work with fleets to open these IBS sites. If I have a site, Chemung County is another good one, good example. If I have a site like Montgomery County, where it's too far away for our corporate stores to run it out of Albany, and we have a independent jobber close by who is interested in running it, then we will pursue that particular fleet and a contract with that fleet on behalf of the owner, okay? In this case, the county is looking at not putting out an RFP. I don't mean to just ignore this side of the room here, but the county is looking at maybe not putting out an RFP on this inventory management service, but using a cooperative buying group, okay? And so let me veer off a little bit, tell you a little bit about the cooperative buying group. So,
Excuse me.
yes, sir.
Do you mind? Because there's I think his question goes to mine. If we could just get a little cleaner version of the relationship. You tend to speak parenthetically and about other states and other divisions, whatever. I'd like to just understand, if I could. I see that the contract is that we would be executing, it says here Public Works, but I think it's going to be between the county and Genuine Parts Company.
Okay.
And then later on tonight, we're going to talk about renting space to Mr. Rico. So if you could just give us the clean version of that relationship and how this is working.
Okay. So and you're not seeing all the contract because I didn't deliver it all to you, obviously. But so we have a national contract. I know, but this relates to this. Okay. We have a national contract with a cooperative buying group, actually operated by the state of Minnesota. So it's a public buying entity. Okay. They competitively nationally bid this inventory service in 2015. We were one of 12 different people who responded to that bid. We were awarded the contract, okay? If the county decides to go with this option in JP, a cooperative buying, they won't bid it, they won't put an RFP out because that's already been done for them. The contract that the county has, in this case, will be, as you said, between the county and Genuine Parts Company, because Genuine Parts Company got awarded this contract nationally. Okay. Then what Genuine Parts Company will do, because I have a local store owner that's interested in running this IBS, I'm going to assign this contract to Frank Greco. Frank Greco is going to be the sole owner and proprietor. He's going to own all the inventory. He's going to take all the liability. He's going to bill you every month. You're going to pay him. At that point, my only relationship with Frank is to supply him those vendor options I was talking about earlier. Hey, we can sell bulk fluids at this price to the county, we can sell batteries at that price to the county. If you decide not to use NJPA, if you decide to put out your own RFP, your own bid, Frank would bid it, I would help him put the RFP response together. If he got awarded that bid or that RFP, you would negotiate your own contract between Frank and the county, because NJPA, that part's not a part of it, okay? I'm only involved in the contractual stage because the county is looking at using a nationally competitively bid cooperative contract, okay? And that contract is with us, it's with Genuine Parts Company.
So
Does that make sense?
No,
Oh,
it does not, because what it sounds like to me is that our contract with you is simply allowing us to do business with him.
your contract with me is using the IBS program, everything I've been describing earlier, through NJPA. And then we're assigning, not allowing you can do business with Frank without a contract, but to use the IBS program, to put the inventory in, to put the computer in, to use the pricing that we have nationally and all of that comes through the contract that we have with NJPA. Okay? So I could run, Genuine Parts Company could run this facility, just like we do Gorman Brothers and many others around the country. In this case, we have a local independent owner that has decided he wants to do that, so we'll assign that contract to him. His pricing will be the same, his inventory control computer will be the same, everything will be the same, whether I'm doing it or he's doing it. But using the cooperative buying eliminates the time and the money and the expense that the county would go to put out an RFP, vet that RFP, and then negotiate a contract. I don't know if that helps or not, but.
All right, no, just one more time. So, there turns out to be some issue down the line. Who do we go see with our buying? You or him?
You're gonna go, if it's contractual in nature, you're gonna see me. If it's, hey, your guy forgot to deliver this part yesterday, or whatever it might be, that's a daily operational type thing, that's gonna be Frank. If it's contractual, or if it's vendor, if you got a vendor that you want us to use, whatever, you're gonna come to me. So I'm gonna be right there with Frank, and we have a team of people. I have someone that works with me on the operational side of things that's gonna be in this with Frank, and we have a team of people in our Albany or Latham Distribution Center. So if it's contractual nature, it's gonna be me. If it's everyday service, it's gonna be Frank, because it's his person gonna be in here.
Is Genuine Parts going to have a contract with Mr. Rico?
No, we don't have a contract with any Van Napa Auto Parts stores. Everything we do is on a handshake. Always has been. If you wanted to open a Napa store, I'd open a Napa store with you, and we do.
No,
it
I don't want to
handshake.
open a Napa store. I want to find out what the business relationship is. That's what I'm trying to find out.
He's a Napa Auto Parts store owner. We supply him Napa parts through our Albany Distribution Center on a daily basis.
So why do you need us to enter into an agreement with you then? If you're extending this business proposition to him on a handshake, what do we need you for here now?
Because the county is looking at not going through the time, trouble, and expense to put an RFP out. They're looking at doing what's already been done for them nationally and piggybacking on this nationally competitively bid contract that's already out there. That contract is not with Frank Greco. That contract nationally is with Genuine Parts Company.
And so in our relationship with Mr. Rico, then what guarantees that you keep that thing alive? Just your handshake?
What guarantees what?
Your agreement stays with him just because on a handshake?
Yes, sir. It has for 28 years.
All set, Legislator Duchesky?
Yeah.
Legislator?
I just had some reference to the, excuse me. We're already users.
You're already members of NJPA. You've got two contracts. The county has a contract. I can give you the contract number if you'd like it.
No.
And the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department has a contract with NJPA as well. You're using them right now. You may be buying office supplies, you may be buying cat parts, whatever. You're using these guys and using the savings, or taking advantage of the savings that are out there now.
Thank you.
Legislator Isabel?
I have a couple of questions. Number one, you say it's going to save us so much money. You're going to have a man there full-time. in our county, there's several vendors that do the same thing that Frank does. We're only a few minutes away from our warehouse, basically. 10, 15 minutes at most. All right? So how is it going to save us money having a man there full-time to service us when somebody can pick up the phone and do it in a matter of minutes anyway?
How many people do you have in your parks department now on the average there? One person. Okay, so all we're doing is replacing the one person that you have now, and frankly, we're probably not going to have the payroll that you have, and we're certainly not going to have the level of benefits that you have right now. So there's a savings there.
We're replacing the people that are there right now, correct?
Right. I don't know what that other person's going to do, but
A second question I have, there are several vendors like Frank in the county, and I respect him very much for having his own business. It's difficult doing business in the county. Several other vendors in the county, okay? My wonder is, what happens to them? They pay taxes in the county. They're very professional businessmen in the county, like Frank is. Are we going to still do business with them anymore? You are. How are you going to do that?
by virtue of the second page of this agreement that I gave you that states that I have to buy from any vendor, or the county can choose to buy from any vendor they want to, any time they want to.
You're missing my point. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you that there are other vendors that sell from the county right now.
Right.
So he's gonna have to go out and direct you to buy from these vendors if he wants to buy from these vendors? Or what?
Yeah. I mean, I will buy
So
from,
you're missing my point.
I guess I don't
Yeah, but I'm
understand the
saying
question.
other vendors supply the county right now.
Right. But if I can supply the same part less expensively than they can, which the pricing comparison that we did proves, then that's just another way that you're gonna save money.
We're gonna save money, but we're still putting a local vendor, he's gonna be losing money because he pays taxes to the community, he pays sales tax to the community, which probably is you. But
We do.
still, his
We do.
property taxes, they all have businesses of their own.
Okay.
And you're gonna be losing that.
No.
You're taking money away from those people.
I'm not, because one of the first things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a meeting, I'm gonna ask the county for permission to have a meeting with all their vendors. And I'm gonna sit down in a room, and the county's gonna be there, and I'm gonna explain the program to these vendors. And to your point, there's gonna be a vendor that's gonna say, well, I used to sell the county batteries, but Napa's coming in, so I guess I'm out. Or I used to sell the county nuts and bolts, Napa's coming in, I guess I'm out. In that meeting, I'm gonna state to them that I wanna do business with all of you guys, okay? And I'm gonna, at some point, I'm gonna meet with them individually and say, here's the pricing that I can supply batteries to the county. Can you match that pricing? Because if you can, I don't need to buy from the Napa warehouse in Latham, I'll buy from you. Can you match the pricing on nuts and bolts? If you can, I won't have to buy from the warehouse in Latham, I'll buy from you. Now, if Eric tells me, like I said a minute ago, if Eric tells me, I don't care about the price difference, buy from this guy, then I'm gonna buy from him. My job is to bring you options. I can save you more money or on the acquisition costs, or I can save you less money and buy from the vendor that I'm directed to buy from.
All set, Legislator Patel.
Not a question, but a request. I'm still not comfortable with the overhead associated with. So can you get us some examples, say last month from another county our size, of what the breakdown of that overhead is?
I can do two things. I can do that, and I also can deliver, they can deliver to you a copy of the projected P&L that Frank and I put together for this site. So you'll see what we think it's going to cost operationally on a monthly basis. The other one that I would suggest, just based on the size, is Otsego County. I can provide you a copy of the monthly P&L for Otsego County down in Cooperstown, if that would help. Thank you. Yep, I can do that. Other questions?
You all set? Chairman Diamond.
So, one of the things that I thought that I liked about it is that we could, I guess we go back to what started this whole process with when I was on the audit committee. I would notice we're buying parts from Napa and Fulton County, and I often thought, well, why, we have multiple auto parts operators here, why would we be buying Fulton County? We should be buying in Montgomery County. So one of the things I thought that I liked about this program is that we can designate all our parts be bought in Montgomery County, unless it was something different. And then for specialty items, if the commissioner, said, I want to buy all our batteries from CarQuest, or I want to buy all our brakes wherever, that's a discretion that we would leave up to him. He's the one that has to do it. So with that said, so if we limited it in, I'm not sure if the rest of the legislators want to limit it to vendors in Montgomery County, do you still see a large savings for us in a total picture of us purchasing parts?
Honestly, it would tie our hands. I mean, I could do that. The savings would be up more on the operational side and the productivity and efficiency side, but it's almost like a contract that you extend now for whatever, whether it's auto parts or office supplies or whatever. If you put a contract out there locally, right, you're buying from that person. Your hands are somewhat tied. You're buying all that product from that person. If you tie my hands and say everything you buy has got to come from a vendor in Montgomery County, you're probably going to tie my hands as far as bringing you additional acquisition savings, because the Napa warehouse is in Lakewood, right? Could we bring you savings? Yes. Would it be to that extent? No. I mean, to be very honest with you, it wouldn't be if you're going to limit me to just Montgomery County.
But I don't believe, I'm just wondering, now I don't think, it seems to me now that we're paying our parts guy, due to a lot of reasons, probably not calling every vendor, probably calling 2 or 3 vendors, where you would have that price at hand, right?
Right.
So it's more of, you're doing the legwork for the parts guy who will be doing something else at DPW if this passes.
And let me make another point too. Whatever Montgomery County's procurement regulations are, whatever your purchasing requirements are, that becomes a part of this contract. That gets attached to the back of the contract. So if your purchasing regs are $3,000 order, you got to get 3 phone bids. We're going to get 3 phone bids. $5,000 order, you need 3 written quotes. We're going to get 3 written quotes. $10,000, it's got to go before the legislature. It's got to go before the legislature. Okay, so we're going to adhere to whatever Montgomery County's purchasing or procurement regulations are. All right, so you're not giving up anything as far as that goes.
And did I read in here too that where we could designate a certain amount of business dollar value to the vendors that we currently have?
You can do that. You can specify anything you want to. So you can specify buy your batteries from this guy. You can specify spend $1,000 a month with that guy, whatever the parts might be. You can basically specify anything you want. We started out with a boilerplate contract. Megan and I have tailored it up with input from Dave and Eric to where we think it needs to be, but it can always be specified further. Yeah.
Now, if they were working on Midline Road in Amsterdam and they need a part, who takes the part down there? Is that our responsibility, or?
Could be your responsibility, could be Frank's responsibility if he's got a person that can run the part down there. In many cases, in a case like that, we might go to a local vendor and have the local vendor do it. We've got an Napa store in Amsterdam. So we could even do that. We've got a lot of different options.
So I'm guessing the savings, to start out with, I'm guessing local vendors have a higher markup than 10%. And that's where the profit would come from? So.
Well, to be honest with you, day in and day out, Frank's got a higher markup than 10%. You can't live off 10%.
Right.
The difference is we don't have the overhead here that he has in his store, or the Napa guy in Amsterdam has in his store, or anybody else has. The overhead is reduced. So that's really the difference.
And then as far as the inventory, as you mentioned, after you go through a few months, the inventory will all be the jobbers or the...
Yeah, we'll basically purge what you already have. Let's say you've got, and I've walked the parts room a couple times. Let's say you have $30,000, $40,000 worth of inventory that the county owns right now. And let's say, and this would not be a stretch at all to say this, let's say 20% of it is obsolete. It no longer fits your fleet. You sold those vehicles 3 years ago or 5 years ago. Okay? We're going to come in, first of all, we're going to hand back to you at no charge the inventory that's relevant that you ask for every day and replace it with inventory that Frank owns. Then we've got several different ways to help you get rid of your obsolete inventory. Instead of putting it on a pallet and auction it off at a dime on a dollar, which is typical, we'll help you get 50 to 75, maybe even 100 cents on a dollar for your obsolete inventory, because it may be obsolete to the county, but I have 400 other sites around the country that might be able to use it. And there are plenty of other vendors that, or not vendors, but fleets that are still using that equipment that you got rid of 3, 5 years ago, whatever. So we can help you get rid of that obsolete inventory and get you a lot more than a dime on a dollar for it. Okay? At some point, that $30,000 to $40,000 that was the county's investment now goes away. We've given it back to you one box at a time at no charge. Frank has replaced it with inventory that he owns. That inventory will grow, almost assuredly that inventory will grow, because remember, I got to get you to a minimum of an 8 times out of 10 on demand rate. That inventory might end up being $70,000, $80,000. I don't know yet what it'll end up being, but we're going to put the inventory in here that's going to match your fleet. Okay, so now that we've got that investment is not yours. That liability is not yours. It's all, in this case, Frank's.
So that would be a savings, just of what we inventory our parts.
Yeah.
To the tune of possibly $70,000, $80,000, whatever, to be there. And besides having 8 out of 10 times, we would have the part in our stock room over there.
Right, and if you talk to the guys on the floor, if you talk to the Days and the Erics of the world, what does that mean to shop productivity? What does that mean to availability of the fleet or the equipment, piece of equipment being back on the road that much quicker? It's significant. I mean, I will tell you also that when I do a cost-benefit analysis, and we did one here, the average amount of time that a technician spends doing something other than turning a wrench, which is what you pay him to do, that's inventory related, I'm not talking smoke breaks and lunch breaks, is 90 minutes per day per tech. How many techs you got? 4. How much do you pay them? $20 an hour, fully encumbered, $36 an hour. Do the math. 90 minutes a day, they're looking for parts, they're calling around chasing parts, they're in a vehicle going to get the part, they're waiting for the part to be delivered. If I can hit a minimum of 8 times out of 10 of having that part on the shelf, and we will hit it, because you have a fixed fleet. We know what your fleet is. We'll hit 80%. We'll get you to 90%. If I can do that, what's that going to do to that 90 minutes that got spent doing something other than turning a wrench? Because we're going to have the parts. And if we don't have it, we're going to chase the parts. He's not waiting for the part. He's not calling the phone, calling a vendor. He's not back in the parts room digging through to find the part. We're going to do all that for you. That kind of goes to shop productivity, if you will.
Legislator Sweet.
A couple questions.
Yes.
The roughly $92,000 hard cost savings, is that just on parts, or does that include the office help and the cost of the rent for the space?
Yeah, what we did, what Paul had asked us to do back then was to divide soft cost savings from hard cost savings. Right? So just in a way of explanation, so if you've got a 40-hour-a-week person that does all the paperwork, and that because this program is going to be installed, now 60% of that person's paperwork is going to go to us, because we're going to buy all the inventory, we're going to own it all, right? That person doesn't go away, it's county employee. But maybe that 60% of their time can be spent doing something else that the county didn't have the personnel or the time in place to do it. That's what happened in Otsego County, if you talk to them, okay? That's a soft cost savings. You're still paying that person, still in the payroll, not counting that, okay? Hard cost savings would be the acquisition cost savings on the inventory. Without looking, I think that was in the 12 to 14% range. It's also, as was mentioned earlier, you're no longer buying that inventory. You're not going to have that investment sitting on the shelf. Now we're going to have that investment sitting on the shelf. Parts going obsolete, okay, that's a loss to you. You can't do a thing with it. We can do something with it. Shrinkage. Shrinkage we don't talk about very often, none of us do, but shrinkage is more than just parts walking out the back door. That does happen. Happens in your place, happens in our places all the time. Shrinkage is also when your technician goes to the bolt bin, grabs a handful of grade 8 bolts, which aren't cheap, goes out on the floor and does his job. What do you think he does with the bolts left over? You think he goes back into the parts room and sticks them right in the bin where they go? Almost never. Toolbox, floor, coveralls. That's inventory shrinkage. So it's a lot of the liability that comes with not owning that inventory. That's part of the hard cost savings as well, the obsolescence and all of that. So there's several things. In fact, Dave has, Eric has, and I can provide you a copy of the actual cost benefit analysis where you can see where we got that from.
And warranties are the same as they would be for if we were purchasing it from anyone, what we do now.
Probably better, to be honest with you, because we're going to track, you buy a Ford vehicle, okay, as we do with NYPD and FDNY, I'm going to track all those warranties. So if that part is, or if that vehicle is still in warranty, you need a part, I'm going to make sure you get a warranty part. That may be happening now in DPW fleet, I don't know that. In most fleets, frankly, they just pick up the phone and order another part. They don't always recover the warranty part. But in our world, we track it and we recover all the warranty parts for you. But the warranty on the part itself, yes, would remain the same. That wouldn't change. That makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Chairman Dunn.
Just one more thing, Mr. Ryan. We've gone through the NJPA and how you would be providing inventory. One of the questions that was brought up last time was the report, the monthly report. You touched on it a little, profit loss. Is there any other reports that you provide to us on a monthly or quarterly basis?
Yes, that's a good question. So in addition to the monthly profit and loss statement that you're going to see every month, here's how much we sold you, here's how much it cost Frank, here's how much we paid our guy, here's insurance, taxes, computer expense, freight for the month. You're going to see all that every month. In addition to that, through our what we call TAMS, which is our inventory control computer system, we're going to provide you reports such as how many vehicles you used last year for truck 149. So you can make a decision, well, should we continue to invest money in truck 149 or should we get rid of it? Okay. We can also do things like, not talking out of school because Otsego County would tell you this, but when we got to Otsego County, gloves, hard hats, eye protection, ear protection, vests, shovels, rakes, things like that were just flying out of the door. They're things that are very hard to control, okay? We can track it to the point that we can tell you which mechanic or which person on a road crew used what, so that you can then determine, well, why does this guy use 3 times as many hard hats in a year than everybody else? Well, why does this person in the shop use 3 times as many pairs of gloves doing his work every year than everybody else? Okay? We can provide a report like that. We also can provide a report to you, that's the one I mentioned earlier. We call it Vehicles Down, Waiting on Parts Report. So every day on an hourly basis, Eric can get a report or Dave can get a report saying which vehicles are down, what they're waiting on, where the part, what the part is, where the part is, and when the part will be here, so they can plan their work. We'll also give you on a monthly basis, if I can get from the county what those parts cost you now, we'll input that into our system. And a month from now, when we sell you that battery, we'll be able to provide you a report. Here's what you used to pay for that battery. Here's what you pay for that battery now. Here's what you used to pay for all your filters. Here's what you pay for your filters now. So we'll be able to provide you an acquisition savings report on a monthly basis. We've got actually about 20 reports, more reports than you probably want or need, but we'll be able to give you a level of accountability that you probably don't have now. As far as where everything went, who got it, how did it get billed out, who used what, we can provide you all of that. I mean, the exercise that Ron Titterensel, who was Eric's counterpart at the time in Otsego County, the exercise he and I went through, one day we walked out into the parking lot after hours and opened 10 of his vehicles, 10 of his trucks. And we made a record of the number of hard hats and vests and eyeglasses and gloves and brakes and shovels and whatever that were in the back of the vehicle or in the cab or whatever. Okay, that's the type of accountability that we're going to be able to give you now, because that's money that may just be flying right off your shelf. Okay.
Legislator Isabel.
And most of the vendors that you have, don't they stock items you use on a regular basis anyway on their shelves?
Sure.
Or the specialized parts you have to get to keep here naturally, but for the most part, you call a vendor up, they have it on their shelf. It's 7 to 10 minutes away from the most part, isn't it?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, a lot of it we bring, for the dump trucks that come out of Albany, sheriff's cars, things like that, normal brakes, filters.
So these people
Things
will
like
stock
that.
parts for everything you
They're gonna
have.
do our 10-wheel fleet, they're gonna do our 6-wheel dump truck
You're
fleet,
gonna have all
which
of
we
that,
don't get
all
right
of that on your
here.
shelf right now, right?
Not right now.
Our local guys right here, right around Meade County, we can't get that availability right here 5 minutes away. So that all comes out of Albany, Rochester,
So they're gonna stock
Utica,
those items here.
they're gonna stock.
We're gonna stock whatever he asks us
They're
to
gonna be
stock.
on the shelves here.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So, I ran a group of Napa stores, 10 Napa stores in Albany for about 6 years. We're talking Albany, so we're talking a big city with a lot of parts stores. We used to do what we call a 3-mile radius. Any garage within 3 miles, they were our primary targets, okay? To deliver even within 3 miles, within 15 minutes is a stretch. It's not gonna happen. 7 to 10 minutes is probably a stretch. So let's say it's 20 minutes. Let's say
I'm
it's 25
exaggerating
minutes.
a little bit, but the county's not that big.
No, I understand that, but again, you're going elsewhere to get to certain vendors too. Maybe it's Oneonta, or maybe it's Albany, or wherever. But how much time are your techs spending waiting for that part to be delivered? That's shop productivity. And that, believe me, that's key. And without looking at the cost benefit analysis, I don't remember what the time was here that Dave and Paul at the time came up with.
So you'll stock things like brake drums from International
Absolutely.
1600 series, then instead of going to HL gauge to,
They'll buy from HL Gauge, they have it on our.
But we'll buy direct from International.
but it'll be right, the stock rooms, they'll have brake drums, they'll have starters, probably not radiator cores and things like that, but.
Well, I mean, if there's a couple radios you asked us to stop, I'll give you a quick example. The city of Erie, Pennsylvania. We've been in there for 9 years, and nobody gets more snow than Erie, Pennsylvania. They have 2 different type of plow trucks. By contract, I have to keep 1 transmission for each plow truck on the floor at all times in the parts room. They may not use it for 2 years, but I have to keep it on the floor by contract. So yeah, it doesn't matter what the part is. If Eric tells us we need to stock it, we need to stock it. And by contract, we will.
Eric, what percentage of your parts and accessories would you say are purchased out of county right now? Piggybacking on Joe's question and looking for a little more specificity here.
Out of county, well over 50%.
So it's I'm certainly, okay, I just wanted, just so everybody can get an idea, it's not going to be a large departure from where we're purchasing things out of the county already.
No, and just to help, I know I talked to Joe about this prior too, but the benefit alone to having the parts on the shelf, the lifts are tied up. One sheriff's car goes on the lift, it's tied up, the parts aren't there. Our stockroom clerk takes off her parts for that. In the meantime, another vehicle that the sheriff dropped off the same morning goes on the lift, needs a different part. Now the 2 lifts are both tied up, neither one can come down. Then a 10-wheel dump truck comes in, now that truck gets half torn apart. Okay, the parts finally show up, so it's just a shuffling back and forth. And
Sure.
When a mechanic takes his eyes off of what he's doing, what he's working on, and parts get piled up and he goes back to finish another project, things get lost in the process, what's.
Okay.
And then it just, finish your task at hand at first and then move on to make just for much more efficiency. And we're not, to answer your other question you had last month, we're not losing an employee.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Do you have a place for this person?
Oh, absolutely. He's,
Okay.
When he's out running parts, he's not entering things into the system as far as who we're billing out, parts that are being used. Because even though these guys are going to sell them to us across the counter, he's still got to enter it, into what piece of equipment that's going to, plus our, our aggregates that we purchase, our piping, our stone, fuel, things like that. None of that's going to be run through this.
Okay.
So we have plenty.
No one will be out of a job because of this.
Basically it's going to stop this young man who has a job from pulling at his hair at the end of the day because he can't keep up. It's going to help him.
Thank you, Eric.
And I will tell you, 11 years of doing this, managing this program in the Northeast, and all the public facilities that we do business with, never had one person lose a job because of this program.
It's important to all of us. All right, any other questions for Mr. Ryan?
Chairman, I'm sorry.
No, of course.
I
Feel
don't mean to
free.
be difficult. Because I want to come back to the same question that I asked earlier. I mean, tomorrow morning, if somebody asked me how many different kinds of plows they had in Erie, Pennsylvania, I can answer that question. But if they asked me why we're entering into an agreement with you when somebody else is going to be executing the program, I don't think I can answer that question. So that's what I'm looking for here.
And obviously, I haven't done a good job of explaining it. If the county chooses not to put out an RFP, not to go through the time and the expense of putting out a bid, I'll call it a bid instead of an RFP, okay? Because there's one that's already been put out there by NJPA, and they prefer to use that, the program's the same. Whether you put out an RFP and we respond to it, or you use NJPA, the program, the pricing, all that's the same. If you don't want to go to the time and trouble and expense of putting out an RFP, you're going to piggyback off the NJPA contract for my services, okay? That contract is with Genuine Parts Company. I don't want to run this facility from Albany, not when I have someone local who can do it. So there's a one-page assignment clause, which you haven't seen yet, that will be on the back of that contract. I'm going to assign that contract to Frank. Now, let's just stop for a second. Let's say the county decides to put an RFP out. They want to go through the 3 or 4 months and the trouble and the expense to do that. You put an RFP out, I'm going to help him answer it because he's going to want to do it. He's going to answer the RFP. If he gets awarded that RFP, your contract will be with him. I'm out of it contractually. We'll still help him with the pricing and the inventory and all that stuff. We'll help him support the whole program, but I'm out of it contractually because you didn't contract with NJPA, you contracted with Frank Greco.
You know, we only have part of a draft contract here.
Right.
That assignment is made part of the, is an addendum to the contract.
It's actually the second attachment. It's attachment B on it. I didn't copy the whole contract for everybody tonight. I didn't know it was necessary. But
Well, we've gotten a red line version of it.
okay,
with,
from
you
Megan.
know, yeah.
Okay.
And the county would be agreeing to that addendum, we sign off on that too?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Does the county sign off on that addendum?
Sure, it's part of the contract. So if you don't like it, you're going to strike it, or at least we're going to go negotiate it. Absolutely. Just like anything else in the contract, it's part of the contract. I hope that helps a little bit.
It does.
I feel bad that I've maybe muddied the water, confused the issue for you.
You shouldn't, I just get sidetracked with all the extra information.
All right, any other further discussion with Mr. Ryan here? Hearing none, Mr. Ryan, thank you so very much for making yourself available to us tonight and giving us your presentation and the detail we need to make an informed decision on this as a form of a resolution.
Thank you for your time tonight and your attention. I really appreciate it. If any additional questions come up, there are several in the room who know how to get a hold of me, so feel free to.
All right, thank you very much.